What was he saying? One of my good friends went to Colorado, and my little tiny nipples went to France.
Oh, bro! No way to a man's heart. We'll never go past chocolate treats, can we? Welcome back to Revamp, guys, and welcome back to part 2 of plumbing special on the blown 1 tonner. Part 1, we checked out the fuel system. If you haven't caught up with that, put a link up here in the corner. If you did, thank you everyone for watching the video. It's had a really good response. In this part 2, we're going to look at the cooling system. We had to do some mods to the radiator support, make our Phoenix radiator and fans fit the blower drive a bit better. So look, we're going to get stuck straight into that, and then we'll move on to some hoses and stuff at the end of the video. So let's get into modifying the radiator support. Alright, so you just saw me measuring up for the radiator on the radiator support. Now, because of the blower drive and the spiral fans that we've got, we're trying to get the radiator as far forward as possible to give that belt as much clearance as possible. Now, the ridge around here, as much as we need it for strength of the panel, it is a bit uneven. It goes up and down a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to flatten that out a bit, try and get that radiator forward, even just that extra few millimeters, give that belt a little bit of extra clearance. Once it's here, I can hold it.
I think that's tight enough.
Yeah, that's right. Looks like good clearance down there. We still have to adjust the belt properly. We may go with a smaller belt, not sure. We might not.
You never know. But even if we do go with that belt, the flap doesn't reach that fan.
We've got plenty on
And you gotta
plenty on
remember,
this side now.
when it heats up, the belt will be tighter because everything gets hot and
Yeah.
expands.
That's with our larger motor spirals. So better quality fan. You can see we've got a very tight clearance along here now. It actually looks really, really nice. We'll straighten this out a little bit before we recoat the powder. But trimming down the mounts, we've only got to put some small washers in here now instead of like a 10mm spacer. So a little bit of work and you get a better result is pretty much the conclusion here. What do we say, Jim?
Everything's perfect here.
Say it again.
Everything's perfect here.
Everything's perfect here.
Yeah, plenty of room. Even if it does flap a little,
Yeah.
it won't reach it. It's perfect.
So now we can go ahead and we can finalise our thermostat housing, start looking for radiator hoses, lower water pump outlet, that kind of thing. And also means we can start finalising the wiring for the fans.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to show you what else we have to do. We've got to get some radiator hoses. Now, these may be standard Chev radiator hoses for a HQ or something like that, but we are running an electric water pump. So our lengths might be a little different and our outlets might be different size. So best way to do it, I'm going to get myself some wire. You can use a coat hanger, a bit of welding wire, whatever. We're going to bend up a shape, measure our hose sizes, and then we'll go to the parts store and rummage through what they've got, and we might be able to make the absolute correct hoses out of another hose, or they might have something that fits perfectly for us. So I'll get some wire, I'll show you doing that, and we'll do that for the top and bottom hose, and then we'll be off to the parts store. So we've got our water pump outlet here, and we've got our radiator outlet down here. Get yourself a bit of wire and pretty much go from the center to the center. Now this one's nearly 90 degrees and we've just got to get the right twist on it and it'll be fine. So we'll cut that one off there. And this is a very simple hose, 90 degrees. We'll measure our outlet size, but you can use the same principle for a very complicated hose. Say we had a hose which S-bend across the front here, we could use the same principle for that. Makes it very easy when you go to your parts store. You can go, give me a hose that looks like that with 1 1/4 inch or 1 1/2 inch or 2 inch, whatever the outlet size is. So makes it very easy for them to try and match something, or yourself to try and match something when you get to the parts store. So that's just a handy little tip that I use all the time for radiator hoses. Hey, heater hoses, you could use it for fuel hoses, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, there you go. There's a little tip for you on hose selection and hose making.
Once you've finished measuring the hose, like Toby said, we usually go to the Mackay site online. They've got the whole catalogue starting from the smaller size hose to the larger size hose and whatever bends you want in it. And it also comes with with a bell end on one end for, like, for instance, if this is a 24mm and this one's a 22mm, there's a bell end on one end. Thanks.
Right, we've got our Phoenix radiator. You've seen the footage of us fitting it to the radiator support so we can get extra clearance for the blower drive. It's a matter of just putting it in there now. On this end, we actually clearance some holes for airflow through the power steering cooler, which we're going to fit up the side here. Alright, so we've got our cutouts here. Hello. There and there. for some airflow over our power steering cooler. Now, with a normal power steering, with an engine driven pump, it may not be necessary to run a cooler. I still probably recommend it, but with electric pump, it's almost a necessity. This is going to be a very big power steering system with the pump in the back, so it's going to have a lot of fluid, but the pumps do work fairly hard, so a cooler is definitely something that you should look into. So this is just going to mount on the side here, get the airflow from those holes. There you go, that's our power steering cooler in location. We'll probably get some nicer nuts here than these galvanised ones, but for now they're going to hold it all in position. Down here we have the inlet for the electric water pump. Now the fitting that came on it was 2 3/4 inch, but the outlet of the radiator 1.5 inch. So we actually had to find a different fitting, which wasn't the easiest for this water pump. So we've got ourselves 1.5 inch inlet for the water pump. They go down quite small anyway, but yeah, that's the size we had to find. Got some thread tape. I've got a little bit of the thread sealant on there to make sure the threads don't gall up. And it's simple. It's as simple as threading it in. Then I get an off-cut rubber hose. Beautiful. So you saw we got our piece of wire to measure up for a hose. So what we ended up with after a little bit of searching around is, funnily enough, the exact same bottom hose as my Nissan Patrol with the 4.2 diesel. So if you're doing something similar, that's the Gates number there. So we've trimmed a bit off one end of it, and we'll have to trim a little bit more off, which is pretty simple, but it will fit nicely on here once we're done. So with a touch of rubber grease inside the hose, a couple of clamps, that's going to be perfect. Alright, so when it comes to the upper hose, we've got ourselves a aeroflow thermostat housing, quite a solid chunky unit. Just make sure that when you get these, your fitting is tight. This one's not, they quite often aren't. So we'll just get a slight bit of the sealer. Just so threads don't damage. Wind that in. Give a little nip up, done. So this runs an O-ring. Get some rubber grease. Right, for a top hose, you saw with the wire we were going with a 90-degree hose, but what we actually found was this 3 litre 6-cylinder VL Commodore top hose. Gave us some nice 45-degree angles, brilliant. than that, even Jimmy will agree, is a pretty damn good fit.
Yep, great.
Those expletives again.
What? Oh, yeah.
Well, there you go. The plumbing special part 2, the cooling system. So we looked at the radiator, the hoses, we stuck the power steering cooler in on the side there on the radiator, and the modifications we did to the radiator support to make it just fit a bit better with the blower drive. So if you're liking this style of content, let us know in the comments. You know, we always try to keep things a bit fresh and bring you new stuff on the cars as we do it. Subscribe to the channel, that way you'll know what's coming. Let a friend know, they might have a similar project, they can get some tips about it. And I'll catch you up more than likely in the next episode, where we're going to look at power steering lines, the rack, the pump, and the transmission cooler and lines. So until then, I'll see you next time on Next Gen Revamp.